Wherefore, Part 49. He is the wizard the other wizards tend to forget. He is also the weaver's favourite wizard, and these things are not unrelated. He has a wizard name but doesn't really use it, and will tend to demur if asked and downplay his wizard status and misdirect you. This is part of his power. He is the weaver's favourite because he tinkers and nudges things along, and no one else can see him doing it most of the time. The weaver can see, and in seeing feels a kind of solidarity, a sense of not being the only one. If he was open to learning weaver magic, she would gleefully have taught him. But he has his own ways and is perfectly happy with them. Sometimes they go for coffee. He doesn't know about this arrangement, but he is a being with a few habits, and all the weaver has to do is sit at a nearby table and listen. She imagines her own interjections into his conversations with others, and watches him craft reality in his own way, and admires the skill he has. For all that he is understated, this one is better at taking apprentices than all the other wizards put together. He directs and teaches, guiding souls who are touched by magic so that they better handle things. He seeds ideas and persuades the recipients it was their scheme all along. Every now and then the weaver sends someone his way just to see what happens. Today he has a coffee date with one of the Wherefore. This is highly entertaining. The wizard can tell there is something going on with this one, but does not know what, and does not pry too deeply to find out. Tasha has some intuition that was there long before she started shape-shifting. She can tell there is something unusual about the wizard, but not what. Even so, he has successfully seeded her with ideas. She is unaware of quite how much personal information she has been persuaded to hand over, and she thinks the community project she is going to launch is entirely her idea. This is how things usually go. Tasha heads off, enthused and trailing threads of new possibility behind her. The weaver nods and smiles. "Nicely done," she says. "Thank you," the wizard replies. "I didn't think you were going to say anything." "You're so good at pretending I don't exist that I was happy just to go along with you," the weaver says. "It is less complicated that way." "Well," says the wizard, "it's a bit disconcerting being seen. I could tell you could see me. No one else notices like that." "You're good at that," the weaver admits, and looks at her hands because her heart is very full and her loneliness weighs heavy. "I hope you don't mind me watching you work now and then." He is silent, and she resists the temptation to simply work her magic on him so that he will say yes. "What are you?" he asks quietly, not even turning to look at her. "Nothing much," she says. "No one important." "Nothing to see here." "Of course not," he says, and for a happy moment the weaver feels seen and understood. Usually at this point she tweaks things a little so as to fall out of his memory. Today she does not. "I feel I ought to remember you from somewhere," he says. The weaver makes eye contact, but says nothing. "I'm often here," he acknowledges. The weaver does not say that she knows this, nor does she say how often she is at a table or so away from him, how often she makes herself forgettable. He is her favourite of the wizards, and she has never let him remain aware of her existence. It started out as a protective measure, a desire not to be noticed, because the weaver had a lot of trouble early on with Amagin, and came to be deeply mistrustful of wizards. But over the years she has come to see the different flavours of wizardry. She is a good deal older and wiser now, and he is her favourite, and it strikes her that she would like him to see her, to understand her, and know who she is. The weaver makes her excuses and leaves, She needs to take a turn around the perimeter of Bank Gardens, which this week has leaked a big cat into the town centre. The garden is also attracting small children in a way that worries her. The dinosaurs in the Science and Art building are restless, and she knows Martin at Hawthorne Press is plotting something and needs checking up on. Lansdowne Gallery is sharing the work of yet another artist intent on making portals into other worlds, and she wonders what it is about the Lansdowne Road this week that has been so unstable and in need of attention. Most likely, the chthonic entity asleep beneath the Merry Walks car park has shifted in its sleep and set everything else off. Of course, at this stage it never occurs to the Weaver to ask anyone or anything for help. Aside from a vague appeal to the universe for a magic thing, the Weaver has done nothing in this regard. The wizards are better people than she assumes. Right now they would value her input, but she can't see it. There are all kinds of spirits and presences that would work with her if she asked or noticed or let them, but she doesn't. She tries to carry the weight of it all as though it is hers alone to bear. This is because her metaphor is broken. If the area still made cloth, she would have daily reminders that there is more to fabric making than the weaving alone. While this is a problem with Weaver, it is also a problem with Stroud. All the tiny kingdoms within it overlapping each other uncooperatively. All the cliques and clusters, the guilds, parties, associations, fiefdoms, baronies, tribes, clans, confederacies, conspiracies, cooperatives. It is a hot mess of people who all want to start their own revolution and haven't figured out it would be far more efficient to join someone else's. Stroud is good at starting things. And yet when you add up the people, the potential and the power, the resources, ideas and intentions, it is surprising how little actually gets done. The People's Republic of Stroud will put together a committee to discuss and facilitate 1,000 ideas in a year. But there are still homeless kids sleeping in the doorways of empty shops, and the food bank is busy. And this week's selection of cultural revolutions, new festivals, new committees and all the rest never seem to change that. During the winter, they set up a new committee to try and oversee the other committees and enable all the other groups, gatherings and self-appointed generals to cooperate more efficiently. By the end of the first meeting, they had 2 subcommittees and 5 working groups and a strategy for reporting back. They have a manifesto, a vision statement and know the nature of their legal identity. They will apply for funding and set up a website. And somehow, all they are busily doing has already obfuscated what the original point was. And nothing will really change. In fairness to the Weaver, this is also why she does not ask for help. There is something in the fabric of the place that makes this sort of thing happen, and these are threads she has never managed to properly unpick.